By the end of the day, I want this thing beneath me driving out here under its own steam. I picked this up for around about $50 equivalent, and it's an Arctic Cat Cheetah. It's been through a few greasy hands, and now it's time for me to touch them with mine, but the last guy that touched it put the chain tensioner on backwards, and basically the chain just kind of flew off and obviously made some great noises as it did. But I've got all the parts for the gearbox on the bench behind me, even got some new parts I've bought from Canada. Got everything I need to fix it today, so let's take a look at it though. So here it is. Not bad for like 600 crowns or $50. I didn't drive it in here. Me and my son actually winched this thing in here because it will not move, obviously. But it did come with this little box at the back, which I think is like an extra maybe, which is kind of cool. Here's the seat. You can sort of have a chat with it. Hey, how's it going? But basically, this is pretty cool because it's full of water, and in a survival situation, you can suck the moisture out of it. The key's broken off, and it's always on run. It does have like a starter motor in it, but I mean, I'm going to have to sort all this out. Yeah, Suzuki 2-stroke 440. It's actually a pretty decent engine. Put some new spark plugs on it. I have put new coolant in it, but from turning that and having a look at it, you've got some like jizz coming out the top there. I mean, have I got a blown gasket or something or whatever? I don't know. Probably not a good sign. It did have a broken fuel line just in there where that pump is, so I've fixed that now. So I've got some fuel to put in it. But overall, it looks alright. It's just the gearbox itself. But anyway, let's try and start it first. This thing looks empty. And it isn't. Yeah, it's just the oil to obviously lubricate the engine. There we go. I'm gonna fill you up like you're my best friend. Right, I think this thing will work, right? I reckon I can get this thing working. Now I've put new spark plugs in, I've repaired the fuel line. Probably gonna work. Just gonna use a compressor and just try and blow the fuel through the system. Oh yeah, the choke. You got to sort of finger blast the choke on these things, as a good friend told me. So that really hasn't taken much to get that running. It's a decent engine, that engine, and I'm pretty happy with it, with the way it's working. Like, that sounds good. It's a bit smoky, but at the end of the day, like, the piston rings are probably pretty worn down on it. Just needs to warm up, and then that smoke will go away. But it's got a long way to go before I drive like miles and miles and miles out into the wilderness with it in very cold temperatures, like minus 15 degrees C, minus 20, something like that, and expect something like this to be, you know, pretty reliable. Like, I just wouldn't do that yet. You know, it's just something to drive somewhere with the Jeep, with this on a trailer, go off out, do some fun with it, you know, sort of find Bigfoot, you know, say like, mate, check this shit out, mate, and he'll be like, oh. So I've looked at the Arctic Cat website, got a schematic, and I've laid everything out on the floor in the way it should go in, basically, in order. I left these pieces in. Looks like a roller bearing spacery thing. That's a technical term, by the way, so don't get intimidated by the terminology, all right? And then we have like a piece of metal that's cut into a circle with a circle in it. Another technical term. It's all right. It's all right. It's, you know, we're good at what we're good at, right? I'm going to use a little bit of a grease to assemble this. Is probably not the right thing to do, but it somehow just feels right. And then there's this piece here, which is like an engagement piece. We've all got an engagement piece. It's just whether we use it after the engagement period correctly, or whether it wears out. This piece isn't worn out. It actually looks pretty good. What can happen is the pins can like basically wear it away. But this one looks good, so that goes on there like that. Little snap ring goes on there like that. There's not really any play in it at all, actually. That's nice. So looking at the schematic, I'm supposed to put this here, which I'm not really massively cool with that. I don't know, it doesn't seem right. Seems like the spline engagement isn't that much, but there's still a little bit of play in that as well. Then this thing goes on. This is for reverse, by the way. So that can lock in there like that. Then we put a big spring in. Then this thing can go up there. I might actually get some Loctite quick. I know some of you are probably wondering about the 4 litre Renix 1990. Well, it's next on the list. This is the last thing to get done before that can live in the garage. It took me ages to find the parts, actually. I got them from Canada in the end, because just way cheaper. Sweden, they wanted 500 crowns for one of those pins. I needed 6 of them. In Canada, for all 6, it was like $50. So that looks okay for the time being, until I actually start it and it just fucking explodes. Alright, so now I've got to put this thing on. I'm guessing that has to engage with the... Oh, so I've guffed it. Totally guffed it. Because now, can't get that on. Living the dream. Love it. Love it. Hey look, it's my first time. Not... Okay, so I just took that bottom piece off and you can kind of see it like that now, which is working pretty good. Seems like it's okay anyway. Like this thing's got to go on like that, with that in line with that little sphinx hole. Then we put a spacer on. We put that on. And then we put this spacer on. And that should be that bit done. And then it's just this top piece now, in which I will use more grease because, you know, because it sounds good when you initially put it together before the oil washes it all away. Put that on there like that. This thing goes on there. And then that bottom piece can now go on for the final time, hopefully. So this is the final part that I need to assemble. And this is the thing that's really the problem on these things. So, yeah, you just slide these pins in there. Maybe I should grease these up too. Probably. So those pins are all in and now I've got to put these springs in, but I don't know. I just don't feel like they're that strong. To me, that just seems shite, actually. I'd expect that to be tougher. Anyway, all those pins are in now. You can kind of see there that they're under a bit more tension. I actually had some really small ball bearings. I've put them under the springs. Hopefully I don't regret that. New circlips and yeah, should be good to go. So this is the final piece of the puzzle. I've put that part on now. You can kind of see that there. There's a little bit of play in that. I'm assuming this is on a, well it is, on a shifter fork. And it's going to move back and forth and engage the pins. But that's it. Should be all working now. Now I need to get some oil, kind of why I greased it all up, because I'm going to be driving it into the garden and stuff and moving the vehicle about before the oil arrives. But this is normally the offending part here, this piece here, and it's meant to have that sort of play in it because it's going to be kind of shifted about on a shifter fork and stuff. But normally what happens is the pins shear off because people don't come to a complete stop when shifting. The pins catch, they shear. You know, it's kind of like you need to come to a complete stop before you start pulling that pin out, or else, you know, you could bend it. In my case, it was these circlips. Basically, they popped out and the pins and the springs and everything kind of came apart on the high or the low gear. I can't remember. And it just wouldn't shift at all. It was just completely screwed. So hopefully that's fine now. I've put new circlips in. Everything's back together. New pins. Yeah, clean the case up, bolt it up. Let's see if this rubbish works. Make it look a little bit better anyway, keep the moisture out. So there we go, that's the seat with some sort of DIY repair on it. I mean, on the website it said this stuff was flexible, and it really isn't. You kind of have to make it go over certain areas in like a patchwork, so it looks pretty shit. But, you know, it looks better than it was. And, you know, with my leatherwork stuff that I've got in the basement, no pun intended there, basically I can wrap this if I buy some black leather, probably use some 3M adhesive, and then use the stitch tool I've got to punch in and thread it in all the way. I just put it all back together and I realised a roll pin had obviously dropped out, and that was one of the reasons I couldn't shift either. I don't know why it dropped out. It must have been hanging on by a thread the last time I put it together. Just as an insurance policy, the seal that comes on the case is made of rubber and it looks super old. So just putting this stuff on just in case. There. That should be all good. Well, that's it, almost back together. Just got a few awkward bolts to put in, but pretty sure it's all shifting properly. You can probably see it in there. Alright, so that's high, that's low, and that's reverse, and I can kind of hear that doing something down there, so hopefully it's going to be alright. This is it, final run. Everything's buttoned up, hopefully it's not leaking, because one of the bolts near the bottom stripped out. So I'm just kind of worried that it might leak, but I have used silicone. It's sort of buttoned up, it looks good. I've used this oil, 5W40, wrong oil, but the right stuff isn't here, and I kind of just want to test it out. So I'll suck the other stuff out with a special tool I've got. Have to keep it under lock and key just because, well, I mean, you know. But anyway, it's shifting all right. Let's try it. She's running good. So hopefully you can hear me okay. I actually have to stand up for the drone to be able to recognise me, or else it just doesn't know what the hell I am. I'm really not sure how the audio is going to be on the riding shots. You know, obviously I'm not home yet to listen to it. I mean, the drone can't do audio, and I just chucked my camera recording on the front of the dash there to try and capture some audio. So I apologise if it sounds terrible. You know, it's really the best I could do. I've not been out on the scooter before with all the filming gear, so it was actually a bit of a pain in the ass. And the drone wouldn't follow the scooter, it would only follow me because it didn't recognise the scooter as a vehicle. So I had to stand up, and then when I sat down it lost sight of me and basically just kind of stopped moving. So I'm going to have to work out with the filming side of things how to film me travelling to locations better with all of this equipment. But you know, it's like anything, only time will tell. I'm sure it's possible because I've seen other people do it. But it's running great. It's running really good. I actually ran out of fuel. I just made it back. I was really lucky there. I should carry spare fuel, but you know, this is the thing. I'm kind of new to this, so I actually thought the fuel I put in would go a lot further. I can start working on this now and put a little bit of time into it here and there. Normally we've got like 4 feet of snow, and it could be anywhere between -10, -20, even -30 like it was last year. It's really warm now, like +3, +4, and it will be for the next 3 weeks. I have no idea, the winter's kind of making a sharp exit. I mean, maybe I won't get to use it again this year. I really like it. It's a great scooter for the family, like when you want to go out and you just want to grill, but it's not obviously going to be a great scooter for kind of going up mountains and going in deep powder and stuff. So it's really just for kind of touring around. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, a bit of a different one from me on the channel. I know a lot of you want to see the 4 litre. It's going to be coming next. I may be doing a couple of camps before you see it, because I'm waiting for the delivery of some box section for the rocker panels, and also the delivery of the actual cargo floor. What do you call it in the US? I say it in the US because most of my audience are from the US, but we call it a boot floor in English, but I guess it's the cargo floor. It's coming from Poland, and it looks pretty good, and I bought it in 2mm, so it'll be a little bit thicker. So like the 4 litre is going to get a lot of work done to it in the coming months, and hopefully you'll be, you know, you'll enjoy that. So I get a lot of messages about it. It still runs great. I go out and start it all the time, so yeah, it ticks over nicely, and I think I'll get some new spark plugs and all sorts of other stuff. I got new brakes for it, new vacuum lines, got a new idler pulley, a new belt. There's loads of things that are going to go on it, so when the work starts, it's going to come all at once, really. Kind of like me. Sorry, I can't help it. There's not really been enough of that in this video, so yeah, I apologise. You know, maybe I'm just come back from the UK, had to sort of, you know, hello, very good, you know, sort of adjust the old, you know, drinking Earl Grey and just sort of all that sort of stuff. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to stop talking. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Any tips for me on the snowmobile, please do leave tips below. I'd really appreciate it. Obviously I'm kind of new to this, and I'll see you very soon on another one. Take care.